Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Dat Guys. I'm Daniel McCarthy with Stronger by the Mile, and we have Mr. Trucking Review Channel is again with us tonight. We are, I guess, common fixtures in the show. We got a lot of interesting news that we're going to cover today, and we're going to look at some freight rates, more or less just the volumes today. Not a lot of things have changed, but I'll go ahead and let you take over on the volumes if you want, TRC.
Yeah, I like what you said, that there is not a lot of changes, but there are some, we won't call them strong, but we'll call them places you should avoid and places that you should stay in those areas. And we'll just hit the vans right off the bat, but using the Datboard Trucker's Edge Pro here. And there's so many places to avoid. I mean, California is not good. You're going to sit for a couple of days, it looks like. But Illinois is still the strongest state in the union.
Illinois is staying pretty strong so far. I mean, they got a pretty good record going.
If you stay between Illinois and Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, yeah, I mean, you can actually run short freight, I would believe, and be able to do okay. At least to keep your boat from sinking in this market. But there's not a lot of stuff out there at all. I mean, there's only 3 states. We'll look at flatbeds in a minute, but I looked earlier. There's only 3 states to stay in with flatbeds.
Wow.
But, so everybody can see the data here on the screen. Just have a look at it. It's very dismal. Stay in the Midwest for vans. But let's look at the rates on they're having today. And of course, you know, we're going to look at Chicago once again, right?
Oh yeah. You got to look at the freight hubs that are very, very popular, very populated with freight normally throughout the year. And if they're struggling, it's a good representation of the rest of the country.
I'm going to change this a little bit this week. And I'm going to say 100 miles out from Chicago. And since the strong areas is the Midwest, I'm going to try destinations around Ohio. So let's say, Cleveland.
And while you're pulling that up, I just remembered I got an email today from a gentleman wanting to know if now was a good time to try and get direct customers. And I would say yes, now is still a good time to try to get direct customers. Regardless of the market, you want to go after those. I just wanted to throw that out there, surprise you a little bit, TRC.
Well, I agree with you 100%. I was on a broker's live feed today, and it was kind of informative. I knew everything they were talking about, but their world is just as upside down as ours is.
Right.
No one's having a good time at the moment. And I don't understand why more people aren't running with direct customers. At least 50% of the time, I feel like you should.
I think that maybe this week I'll put together a video that we can put up showing people how to look for direct customers, because it's actually a lot easier than what people think it is, and it's the same method that the brokers use to find their shippers.
Right. A lot of times when you do get with a direct shipper, you're not undercutting anyone else. I mean, you can work it that way,
right?
But you come in and you give them the information, you fill out their packet, and they will give you what they have if they feel like it. But that, they'll send you an update. This is what we got this week. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, you definitely want to get on their email list, and even if they don't have the freight that you want right now, if they're willing to let you get on their email list and fill out a carrier packet or an approved carrier packet, go ahead and do it. File it. Don't forget them, and just wait until stuff comes up there. That way you're at least setting up a network.
This is kind of odd, Daniel. I don't have anything here. They've changed. They've done an update to the Datboard. That's what it is. Let's see.
Now you're looking at van rates, right?
Yes. Yeah, the first. It's populated 1,900 loads from Chicago to within 300 miles of Cleveland. But rates though, this one here in the 7-day moving average, it's like a $500 load, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's been paying $1.53 a mile, 343 miles. But there's not any offer prices on anything. Is that kind of odd?
It is kind of odd if there's no offers. Usually you're going to have several with offers, but if there's nothing that has offers, that is very odd.
Yeah.
Especially for that area.
On vans, 0. I'm wondering if they when they changed this update, if something went away. But I'm not seeing anything.
Man, it's a weird market right now. Like you were saying, it's weird for everybody.
Yeah. Looks like this one here, they have a shipper to carrier contract and a broker to carrier spot. And it's from Greenfield, Wisconsin to Franklin, Wisconsin. Now that's why is it giving me that? It's got it's got a lot of drops. That's what it is. Okay. We don't want nothing to do with that load.
That's one thing.
Sorry, guys. I get caught up in the computer and just totally forget we're making a video here.
That's one thing you really had to watch about in the reefer game when you had when I had my own authority, is or even at Landstar, you could find a load on the load board when you would look at it. Say it's going 1,200 miles and it's paying $3,600. You're like, man, that's awesome rate. You know, short run. Gonna knock it out. You call the broker, they're like, yeah, you got 18 stops on it and it's gonna take you 14 days to do it. Well, right. That's not a good load. You don't want to take that one unless you can get the money up. And
well, let's look over here at the reefer side of it. Van rates are at their lowest now. They've been in 6 years or 5 years. They're at $1.63, I believe, a mile average, according to DAT Services. I know that's averages. That means a lot of freight's paying a lot less. But let's look at the reefers. It's the same way as it was with the vans.
I mean, it's produce season kicking off. I mean, like California, that's...
Right.
Guys, I hope everyone that's watching this, that's out there in the game or getting into the game, I hope you guys are really studying the analytics of the Datboard and really studying and paying attention to where to go and where not to go, and utilize the information to run effectively with your operation.
Illinois, 666 out, 450 in. Indiana, 201 out, 199 in. Michigan has overabundance of freight, 251 out, 180 in. New Jersey's a 50-50 state. That's amazing. New York City, 50-50. Pennsylvania's looking decent.
Ohio's lacking in the reefer market compared to what it should be.
Right, but 361 out that's still, you've got an overage still. So
Right.
those rates may be a little bit higher in those states. Turn this on. I got a fluctuation going on in my camera over here.
I think you're right. If they stay within that triangle of those 3 states, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Illinois, I think, and run some shorter runs more often, then I think you could be all right.
Yeah. Let's switch this over to reefer loads and see if we can find some kind of offer. I really like seeing offer prices. And we'll leave it in the same thing that we just had it in, Chicago to Cleveland. Now might be a good time for doing LTLs.
Right.
If you have time on load, I might would spend some time partialing loads together.
Yeah.
You can lose a week partialing loads together, but a lot of times you can double your money really easily. My internet is slow again today. I'm blaming it on COVID-19. Search. Okay. I have propagated another 1,900 loads. I guess a lot of those loads are going to carry over. They may be van loads, they may be reefer loads, but they're not specific always.
Right.
Same way here, Daniel. No offers.
Yeah, that's odd, not having any offers.
It is. I would not want to be out there at the moment trying to make a buck. And a lot of these do have a lot of drops on them. Have you ever noticed that a company that is a trucking company will have a logistics company attached to it?
Yes.
And it's supposed to be their freight overage goes over there, but it seems like they play games with it a lot of times.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Let's get out of this dismal market and look at some trucking news today.
That sounds good. What is going on in the trucking world? Is there any landmark things that are changing our career field other than COVID?
Well, there's a lot of talk right now about brokers freight gouging the prices.
Mm-hmm.
And me and you've talked about that in the past, and it's a very I have mixed feelings on what they're doing, because I feel like, well, we've been talking for over a year that recession was coming,
Right.
and a lot of people have been like, "Oh, you're an idiot," but well, apparently we were right, wasn't we?
Yeah, we just didn't know the COVID was going to
Come along with it.
knock it down
No,
that
we wasn't
far.
expecting one. But I mean, my house is in order, but a lot of people don't have their houses in order because they need Dave Ramsey in their life. You know what I mean? Financial responsibility. But you can't fix. I've heard people say we need solutions. But if you didn't prepare for this kind of problem, there is no solution right now. You either ride the storm out or you go bankrupt.
Right.
But there are some interesting articles out here.
Now, last week we were talking about we had brought up that there's a regulation where you can see what the brokers are getting from the customer to the shipper to the carrier. I believe you found an article on that, didn't you?
I did, on Transportation Nation. The article is called "Trucking Groups Take Different Routes to Same Destination, Broker Transparency." Now, this regulation, 49 CFR 371-3, it's an after-the-fact regulation, which means that you can request from your broker, whether he likes it or not, for every load you've hauled within, I think, a 3-year time frame, he has to give you what that load's gross pay was. So you'll know exactly what he made off of it.
Well, that's a really good thing to see, because if you can see that, then you can decide if you want to continue hauling for the guy or not.
Exactly. Now, I have seen that some brokers do build in a clause into their contract.
Mm-hmm.
And if you sign that contract with that clause on it, you can't request that information. They don't have to give it to you.
Right.
But I'm not going to say who does that, but I would not haul for that broker if that's what they do.
No.
Isn't that the answer to all of our problems? Don't haul for that broker.
Right.
But it was a really good article.
Yep, you're right. It's 3 years. They have to keep a list of records of 3 years. And that's
a lot of times we don't read those contracts though when we sign them.
No, especially when you're new and you're getting set up. It took me a few brokers before I actually sat down and started reading the agreement, the carrier packet, and I came across a few brokers that I just would not deal with. I called them back. I said, look, I don't agree with this. We need to amend the contract before I can haul the freight with you. And some of them would, most of them wouldn't.
No, they won't.
No.
Well, apparently I can't talk about that article anymore. Would you like to? Because my internet is fried.
The response to the whole situation with the May Day protest and truck drivers wanting to, they want more transparency in the freight game and the rates. So basically what this article is a quick overview of the regulation. It's got the regulation listed, so definitely go and check that out. It's a very good read. The SBTC filed a rulemaking petition for the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration to add a new requirement to the federal regulation involving brokers. It says brokers may not coerce or otherwise require parties to the transaction to waive their right to review the record of the transaction as a condition for doing business. No stipulation or...
Can you read that again, Daniel?
Yep.
The brokers cannot do what?
Coerce or otherwise require parties to the transaction to waive their right to review the record of the transaction as a condition for doing business. No stipulation or clause in any contract shall exempt any broker from having to comply with this rule upon demand by the party to the transaction. So right there, they're trying to set it up where a broker cannot deny you the right to see the transaction records.
Even if it's built into their contract, they still have to show you.
They still have to show you.
I would tell people that if they have tried to get that information from a certain very large broker that we know, and they haven't, that's a really nice class action lawsuit right there.
Yes, there is. And if you've been in the trucking business for very long and you've dealt with certain brokers, there's one very large broker that has the term rip. We made a rip off of this deal. That's my clue to who the brokerage is. I'm not going to say their name, but some of you guys out there might know who I'm talking about. I know the brokers that are watching do.
If you know who we're talking about, put it down in the comments, guys, because we ain't going to say it because we're just not going to do that here.
Yeah.
That's a different video.
we don't want to get ripped.
No, we don't.
But
okay.
Yeah, I know we're poking a little bit of fun at this, but as dark and gloomy as everything is, we gotta blow off some steam and have a good time. But this is a very serious read. Go to transportationnation.com. We'll link this in the bottom. Read this article. Go look at the regulation because it's very important to you as a carrier. And if you're a broker, you might want to go read it too.
We're being in business.
You have to have it's a trial and error and learn as you go thing a lot of times, but you got to have a business mind. You got to know how to protect yourself. It's just otherwise you're doomed. Well, I'm over here on where am I at now? The Business Insider. They say that 88,300 truck drivers lost their jobs in April, and it's the biggest trucking loss on record.
88,300 drivers. That is a lot of drivers.
It sure is.
Go into saying, is that company drivers, owner-operators, or?
I believe these are company drivers. I'm reading it. It's the biggest loss on record, extending back to 1990.
Wow.
I'll hit the highlights of the article here. April wiped out all trucking employment gains during the past 5.5 years, bringing the industry back to its employment numbers of 2014. The rest of the April's job report, which was released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics on May 8th, was similarly jarring. 20.5 million payrolls were cut in April, which is 25 times larger than the worst monthly decline during the recession in 2000. Wow. The unemployment rate is at 14.7%, its highest since the Great Depression. Truck drivers have been deemed essential during this pandemic. Freight volumes and rates have collapsed this year. Much of the economy, most notably manufacturing, is at a standstill. But that just talks to why rates are so low. The shippers know that we have an overabundance of trucks. I can't blame brokers for that. I don't like brokers. You don't like brokers. But they're a necessary part of the business if you're running spot market.
They are.
There are other ways to totally bring the broker out of the situation. You could run Uber, couldn't you?
Was saying that there are when you get direct to customers, say you get with a cold carrier storage, you still have to deal with their internal brokers. So brokers are absolutely a necessity requirement, even if you have contracted freight. So keep that in mind too, guys. That's something that once you start moving into that territory of trucking, you'll see that a lot.
Well, these shippers, they don't want to sit on the phone all day answering phone calls.
No.
I mean, they have to make a whole separate department if they're going to do that, or hire some outside person to manage it for them. That's understandable. But there's another platform, and I tell you what, I can't remember the name of it. We'll talk. But they charge you $27 a load. You use their app. You contact the shipper directly. You pay the app company $27. They quick pay you and everything.
Right.
Just that simple. And they had plenty of loads on there because I was looking at it, because they have like 30,000 step tech loads to move right now.
Right.
At $3.68 a mile.
Yep. And if you're running spot market, you got your own authority, that might be something that you need to look at. Maybe we could do a video on that here soon.
Okay. I did oh, you want to take this Department of Justice seeks evidence video?
I sure will. During the whole thing that they're doing right now with the transparency, there's another article at transportationnation.com. It'll be linked in the bottom. The United States Department of Justice, the DOJ, is seeking evidence of potential antitrust law violations before possibly opening an investigation into the business practices of freight brokers. I won't go read the whole thing, but basically they're looking for drivers that has evidence of antitrust, price gouging, stuff like that. So they have to have proof of it before they can open an active investigation. And this kind of goes through some of the stuff they're looking at. Like, however, one of the most common offenses are agreements made between competing sellers for the purpose of restraining competition. These price-fixing agreements, as they are referred to, whereby competing sellers collude to set minimum and maximum rates, are a violation of antitrust laws. So they're really trying to keep it from being a monopoly.
Exactly. Yeah. Collusion in any market is illegal. A couple of brokers might sew up all the business in one place. For them two guys to get together and have a conversation and set rates together is illegal. It's illegal for AT&T, it's Sprint to do it, or anyone else. It's been done plenty of times. People have been caught. I 100% know that's not going on in this business. It might go on at a, in some small sort of way, but not major.
No, but they are asking for help. Lamb is asking for those who believe they have evidence of such violations to come forward to james@truckers.com. If you don't have evidence, guys, I wouldn't email, but if you do, you can send them an email. But it's in the article, so please go take a look at that.
I really can't see shippers being charged pre-coronavirus rates and it not being passed on. I mean, in the beginning it might have been, but not at this point.
No.
Shippers know what they're sitting on. They're saving their money.
Yeah.
But they're not open. I mean, some people like this, they're not open.
It's like a Christmas tree or a pyramid. The truckers are feeling it. The brokers are feeling this pandemic. The shippers are feeling it. The manufacturers are feeling it. Everybody's feeling the squeeze on them, on profits, cost of operations, their payroll, the insurance, the licensing. It's a struggle for everybody right now.
Oh, brokers push back against Trump. Can you imagine that? Brokers push back against Trump's price gouging claims. This is on freightwaves.com. And it's about the May Day thing in Washington. It's a really good read. I'm not going to read it. They have a video here if you want to click on it and watch it. That represents, I'll read a little bit, of the truck brokerage industry swiftly repudiated Mr. Trump's allegations of price gouging against small business truck drivers after the president took sides with the drivers on the issue. Oh, everybody knows Trump's a tweeter.
He is. He's on those X game mode. I gotta quit watching TikTok, man.
So they just want to be treated fairly. They're great people. That's what Trump said. We all heard that. Let's see. Okay, here it is. Transportation Intermediaries Association, the TIA. This is an organization that brokers are a member. It's like OIDA is for us. This is their little group that represents them. Actually, this group says that on average, brokers make 16% of the load. I'm 100% okay with that. I do know that sometimes they'll get 40 or 50%, And I also know that sometimes they're getting 3 or 4%, or just breaking even.
Yeah, I know. I've seen 2 brokers personally reach in their own pocket to move a load.
I've had it happen many times.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I'd have them give me everything. So he said they are not price gouging. There is simply not enough freight to support all the carriers. In this case, we simply aren't shipping much of anything, and there are too many trucks chasing too little freight. TIA welcomes the opportunity to discuss the situation with the administration as well as with all parties involved in a formal setting. And I guarantee you they will do a much better job with their set down than we will do with ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, here it is, 16% gross margin for their services. Passing 84% onto the carrier. That, maybe we shouldn't talk about that, Daniel. I don't know. That whole fake news story.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, that's a really good article, and I believe there's some truth in it. You know, maybe it's really 20% instead of 16%. But I think that when we stand up and fight against transparency, it's jealousy, because we don't know what that ham. We don't know what Walmart pays for that ham. We don't care. We just know we want that ham, so we buy it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's our business. It's a transparency is fine, but I was listening to guys. It says Brooklyn should only get 10%, 10%. How do you regulate that? I just don't see an answer.
How do you regulate that without hurting yourself? That's a good question.
I feel like there would be some kind of backlash onto ourselves on regulating our prices, and the government is not going to do that because it wants free and open markets. It makes better flow of the economy as far as pricing.
Right.
Do you got any more articles?
No, I don't. I am slacking. Today was a crazy day for me. I will tell everyone that if their seatbelt sensor begins not working right and you're driving down the road and that little bell goes off for like 2 hours, it will drive you nuts.
It will. It certainly will. Yeah, I'm over here on the trucker, and they got an article about the May Day protest. The only thing I can say about it is it's a really pretty green Volvo. It's a nice color truck.
Yep. It absolutely is.
All right. But we will put all of this stuff in the description. You want to give them the pitch, Daniel? Give them the pitch, Daniel.
I will try to be professional here. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in to the DAT guys. Guys, there is a link in the description. You can try the DAT Loadboard Pro Trucker's Edge for free on DAT's dime. You don't have to spend anything. Go check it out. Try it for 30 days free. If you like it, keep it. And if you don't like it, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but you don't have to keep it. But it's definitely worth the look-see, and just check it out. It will help your business grow. It'll help you survive.
Just hit the link and check it out. You don't got to buy it. Learn a few things about what's going on in the freight markets today.
Absolutely.
You guys have a spectacular day and a good weekend.
Later, guys.
Bye.